Hey guys, now that the full release of Valorant is finally here, I wanted to talk about mindset and specifically how you should motivate yourself when you're playing Valorant. Obviously, there's plenty of things on your mind when you're playing, but people are generally motivated in most competition by either a need to win or a drive to improve. I know that personally I exist somewhere on a spectrum between the two depending on the day, and I both love winning and improving. So, which one is the better mindset to have when you're playing Valorant? To answer that question, I'm going to look at Franken Browns' 1996 paper. This is a follow-up to a paper that I looked at in a past video discussing competitive motivation. In this paper, Franken and Brown examine people who need to win and compare people through a multi-factor analysis of their need to win versus their need to perform well and their preference for difficult tasks. The results were actually pretty conclusive. Compared to people who like to perform well and prefer difficult tasks, people who are primarily motivated by their drive to win have poorer coping skills, self-esteem, and lower hope. To me, that's a description of a player who's prone to tilt. To add to that, they tend to see the world as hostile and have an entity view of intelligence. For those of you who aren't familiar with the work of Carol Dweck as she outlined in her book Mindset, an entity or fixed view of intelligence means that you believe your intelligence level is static and can't be improved. People with this mindset tend to avoid challenges, give up easily, and see effort as pointless. They ignore helpful feedback and feel threatened or envious by the success of others because they think those people are just born better and that's some kind of immutable fact. This is a deterministic view of the world, meaning that you think everything that will happen was destined to happen and you don't really have any control over it. Everyone better than you basically had better luck and everyone worse than you is just inferior. To contrast, people who are driven by a need to improve and challenge themselves have more confidence, drive, better mental resilience, and are more likely to adopt a growth mindset, meaning they will embrace challenges, persist when setbacks occur, see effort as a path to mastery, learn from criticism, and find inspiration and joy in the success of others. This mindset is more congruent with the idea of free will. There are factors out of your control when it comes to skill level, but through focus and work, you can make the most out of what you are given. So why do people have these differing mindsets? As Franken and Brown concluded and put in the title of their paper, the need to win is not adaptive. It doesn't help you in any way. It's actually a reactive defense mechanism coming from your ego and insecurity that accompanies losses. You feel the need to win because you think that someone else being better than you is some kind of permanent blemish on your record. To protect your ego, you want to make sure that you don't lose and are therefore better than your opponents in some way. This extrinsic motivation is often called an ego orientation because you're driven to protect your feelings. On the other hand, the desire for challenge and self-improvement comes from a place of confidence and security. You understand you're imperfect and are prepared to go about making yourself slightly less imperfect, step by step. Losing sucks, but it isn't the end of the world because as long as you took some lessons from the game, you know that the wins will start to come. This is an intrinsic motivation that we call mastery orientation because you're driven to be the best that you can be. The difference between ego and mastery orientation is highlighted nowhere better than in one of Dweck's studies, where she gave teenage students challenging nonverbal questions and then praised them for their performance. Half of them were given ability praise. Wow, you must be so smart to get these questions right. While the other half were given character praise. Wow, you must work so hard to get these questions right. And the outcome was staggering. After giving the praise, Dweck asked the students if they wanted to try a harder task. The students given the ability praise fell right into a fixed mindset. They rejected the task and didn't want to expose any flaws they might have. Whereas 90% of the students given character praise did the new task to challenge themselves. The study only got crazier from there. After giving the students the new tasks, she then asked the students to write letters to their peers about how they did. 40% of the kids praised for their ability lied about their scores to their peers. Dweck famously said, "What's so alarming is that we took ordinary children and made them into liars, simply by telling them they were smart." Not being the best isn't a source of shame, and by thinking that your skill level is fixed, you bait yourself into avoiding the very things that will make you better. Developing a growth mindset is simple but hard. First of all, you need to embrace failure and losing. Every time you fail, you need to absorb new information. And the only bad type of failure is when you repeat a mistake without learning your lesson. You also need to be self-aware. You need to be able to zoom out and see the bigger picture so you can focus on process and not short-term results. Applying new things that you learned is more important than getting a good outcome. I'm not saying winning is not important, but caring exclusively about winning will limit your growth as a player. Finally, you need to be curious and try to enjoy and seek out learning. All of these changes are substantially easier if you incorporate mindfulness training like meditation into your practice routine. Now, despite the fact that we often prioritize winning over everything, I hope you can see how that tunnel vision on winning makes the act of winning harder, as your growth as a player will stagnate unless you actually play to improve. By leaving your comfort zone and not being afraid to embarrass yourself, you can seek out challenge and have a growth mindset, allowing you to push yourself past your plateaus and get better faster.